Okay, so I want to talk about personal statements today and how to write a great personal statement. A couple of things I want to mention before I dive deep into my personal statement and like what the individual parts of a personal statement is. Number one, your goal with a personal statement is to so if let's say we are ranking all the personal statements from the very best to the very worst, your goal is to not be at either end, and I'll tell you why. You want to be at the middle, like 80th percent. Like you don't want to be top 10% or bottom 10%. The thing is, if you try so hard to be in the top 10%, then odds are you're just making a weird essay that every like someone's gonna read and be like, "This is so weird. It's so different than everything else I read." So your goal is to stand out a little, not too much, not to be. Your goal is to be remembered. So when they read your personal statement, they remember you by X, Y, and Z. That's unique to you. That is going to help them remember details about your application better. So it's just to give them a bit of context, a bit of. It's about the story. What's your story? So you want to use things that make it easier to remember you. And my favorite saying about the personal statements is that uh, it doesn't make a difference unless you're in the top 10 percentile or bottom 10 percentile of all personal statements. And usually the people who think they're in the top percentile with their personal statements are the ones that are in the bottom 10 percentile. Meaning, don't do anything weird with it. Don't like do anything crazy. Don't, I don't know, just write a normal personal statement. Now, for some basics, you want it to be about one page, double spaced. So not double spaced, just one page, single spaced, normal, like font 12. Let's see how many words this is. So mine is like 534. I have some of the little comments inserted here, so probably like around 500. SU might tell you a little bit more, a little less. Don't listen to them. SU doesn't have. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say this. Uh, I didn't really find their editing service helpful aside from just like fixing like really obvious errors. Um, but in this day and age, you can use several things to edit your work. You can use ChatGTP. If you're gonna use ChatGTP, make sure you're using the like premium version. And obviously, it's changed a lot since when I was writing mine last year. Make sure you're not using ChatGTP like words. Like use it to restructure your sentences. But ChatGTP has like a tendency to make certain type of sentences. For example, it's gonna be like um, not only I did this, but also I did this. Like it loves that format, or it's gonna say like use like deep or like weird random words. It's gonna use multiple times. So make sure you don't do that because just watch what words they're gonna use. Okay. Um, yeah, and you're gonna put this like the formatting doesn't really matter. You're gonna put it in like an ERAS like thing, so your formatting isn't gonna be preserved at all, anyways. Um, don't stress over it. It doesn't have to be that bad. Just get a draft going on and go back to it like every weekend or something like that. So this is the format that I use. There is a divine intervention episode. It's episode. What is this episode? Just search divine intervention. How to write an excellent personal statement. That's what I use. It doesn't have a number, unfortunately. I don't know why. That's what I used to. Where was my thing? Yeah. That's what I used to write this roughly. I really liked my personal statement. It got brought up a lot in interviews, and I think it was because I was giving several facets of my like medical experience. It was mostly about medicine, but it wasn't the same thing about medicine. It was like different thing about medicine. And every time someone is reading, I'm applying for internal medicine, so it might be different than whatever you're applying to. But every time someone is reading, they like one particular aspect, so they particularly remember one particular aspect, and that's like helps them kind of when they go to admission committee, they're like, remember, oh, Iman, the guy that did this, that, as a like I don't know tutors or whatever. They kind of remember different parts of you. Now let's read this together. So first, you want a story. Start with a story, like any sort of story. People remember stories a lot better than like just like you writing your opinion or what you think your field is. So start with any sort of story. The more unique, the better. It doesn't have to be tragic. It just has to be unique. It just has to um, encompass an idea that's unique to your application, so it more easily links you to a thought that they already have in their mind, right? Like, I don't know. You'll see my example. Through that story, you're going to say why you want to do medicine, why you went to medical school in the first place, and you want to hint into why the particular specialty. So this is what I have. As a child, I often accompanied my father to his private practice. All right. Also, very simple. Like it's fine to have simple, short sentences. You're not like you want to. You don't want to write something that's hard to read. During our commutes, he would explain the diseases we encountered, teaching me the pathophysiology and his treatment methods. Right. Very kind of like just painting a picture of me in a car with my dad, just like he's talking about medicine stuff. Learning that the human body contains microscopic soldiers that can track down and destroy germs thrilled me so much that as a university student, I pursued a bachelor's degree in immunology and worked in my university's hematology research program. So you see how I take that story and I make it about something about me, and so it just goes from a super random story to a like, oh, the guy who was likes hematology and like end up doing it. Kind of is a story. It's easier to remember me by now. This isn't gonna impress them. They're not gonna be like, oh my god, like I've always wanted to have like a hematology nerd in my fucking team. This is just so they remember you by more things, right? Um, and at the same time, I'm not giving random details. I'm eliminating a lot of details. I'm just making it easy to remember. Uh, these conversations with my father, continue to fuel my deep fascination with medicine to this day. Uh, After practicing as a practitioner for a decade, my father began a residency in neurology. I'm just giving more details, so this is unique to me. I feel like a lot of people brought my dad up, and I think it's because somehow they relate to the idea of being someone who is in medicine who has a kid. It may not be unique to you, but if your parent or something is in medicine, you may want to play it like that, because I felt like a lot of people related to the sense of, oh, like I'm a doctor, so I relate to your dad, and that's cool that you're. I even had several people saying, oh, it's good that you're like you go back to your background and stuff like that. Obviously, if you're not, you want to find out a story like this that kind of resonates with people, but this is what and personally it's very important to me. This is why I went to medicine, because as a young kid I was always around it. So I kind of tell why medicine, and then I hint to why my specialty. So I'm like, the whole reason I brought up my dad, first of all, it's a unique story. It's like a guy doing his specialty after he has a kid, after practicing as a generalist, right? That's a little bit of a unique thing. So it's something that people are going to remember. It might even be a little confusing to people, be like, what? How is that even possible? And then I want to be like, hey, however, I turned towards internal medicine, and I used IM because now on I just refer to it as IM. I just didn't want to write a long ass word like 80 times and eat my space. Not because of any single case or project, but through a series of experiences from childhood to my clerkship. So some people decide to like put like, hey, I saw this case or whatever. I was like, no, I knew I was always gonna. I liked IM from the beginning. Not one case made me think I want to do IM. I don't know how you would want to integrate one case into this whole thing, but so I said like, hey, I turned towards IM. Unlike my dad, I revolted against my dad, and I know what a bad boy. And then I decided to do like whatever I am, because of all those things that I talked to, like from my dad from being a kid all the way to my clerkships. So that's the purpose of your first paragraph. It will tell a story, so they're not like random guy. They're just like this particular guy with this particular background. Why medicine? The story's got to be about medicine, right? The story, you got to make it. It starts and then it becomes about medicine, and then you want to hint into your. I mean, I said it directly. That's fine, but I also said it in the very last sentence. You want to hint directly as what's to come. So the next sentence, why do you want to do? Like, kind of like go deeper into why. What are these experiences? You know, like why? So why do you want to do your specialty? I think I changed this in the final section because I talked to some of my attendings, and they were like, "This is too much." Uh, One of the OB-GYN attendings actually in Mount Sinai told me this is too much. I believe I'm ideally. Oh, I think I had what I had was I am ideally suited. He said add I believe, because and he was right. Like, why am I talking like that? A medical student. So I believe I'm ideally suited for an IM residency due to my keen interest in the intellectual challenges it presents. Now, keen interest sounds a little chat GTP now in hindsight. So I'm just saying, like, here's a thing for all you guys. It's okay to use cliche ideas, just don't say them in cliche ways. Like, obviously for IM, everybody's gonna talk about, oh, I like thinking about different things. With surgery, everybody's gonna be like, I like working with my hands or whatever. That's okay to say those things if you just say them in a unique way. I enjoy maintaining a broad body of knowledge and collaborating with other healthcare professionals to provide the best possible care. Now, is this the main thing that I love about medicine? Probably not. Like, collaborating with other professionals, like, I don't know, like ancillary staff. Is that why I went to medicine? No, not really. But it's a big part of medicine, and I appreciate it, and I realize that you need to do it to do a good job. This last thing, probably something that felt more emotionally important to me. Having resources like McGee's evidence-based physical diagnosis and basis physical examination in my white code significantly enhanced my ability to like process. So basically, I'm saying I'm giving another mini story, and it's not even a story. It's just a picture of me in my white coat with books stuffed in my uh, pockets, and like me going back to them and like um, referencing them in trying to. Those are well-known books, right? So this is, I mean, basis physical examination. This book, for example, one of the attendings I interviewed that he wrote a book similar to this, and actually I bought that book too. Actually, he wrote a book similar to Bates's, and I bought that book too. I have it here, and so it became such a unique experience. I didn't end up matching there, but I'm still in touch with that person because you're giving like important, relatable details about yourself that they can relate to and be like, oh yeah, I'm also a guy like this. So this guy's gonna be if he becomes a hospitalist or surgeon at my hospital, he's gonna be like me. But if you don't give any like details like that about yourself, how you are as a professional, then no one is gonna like care because you just didn't give much. So things that made you unique. Obviously, a lot of things made me unique. Like I carried book around with myself. I always carried all my equipment. I always tried to wear my white coat, partially because I knew these things were things that like if someone was like a true medicine lover saw me, it would be like, wow, that kid knows what's going on. But if an attending didn't care, they wouldn't notice. And usually those people who are like a true like nerdy, like super interested in the field, those are the ones that are interviewing you, not the ones that don't care much about things. I don't know if that last bit made sense if you were listening. Anyways, what do you like about your specialty? And so you want to now talk more about the specialty and what specifically you have. So this third paragraph is going to read a lot like I do this, this, and this. This is why like I'm good for this. So what did I talk about? I talked about teaching. Uh, let's just see what I talked about. But I think I talked about teaching, studying, like really vaguely, teaching, studying, and research. Right? You're like, wow, teaching, studying, and research. Yeah. Like, what else do you want in a good like, from an academic perspective, what else do you want? Now, those ideas, if I wrote them like that, they would be like the most boring thing. But again, it's okay to have basic ideas. You're not okay to say them in a basic way because it just doesn't feel genuine. If anything, basic ideas are the most important ideas. So my commitment to medicine has driven me to share medical education initially through tutoring my peers, then later on by expanding to a wider audience by creating educational videos on YouTube. So I'm talking about this channel. The channel is small, right? At that point, I was like mainly headed to making the channel smaller, making the channel bigger. Obviously, you may know this or not. I'm more focused on one-on-one mentorship, one-on-one tutoring, specifically for step two. So if you are someone who's struggling with step two, actually, I'm very full right now, but you can like shoot me a message and be like, when are you going to be available? I have like a very intense one-on-one course slash program that like I just care about the best results. So I take very limited students. I have a relatively long waiting list, but sometimes spots open like on short notice. But I don't think I'm gonna have any spots free for the next 2 months. So just that. Um, this helps me in the clinical setting by improving my ability to break down medical concepts and communicate them effectively with patients, which I agree it's true. Being able to explain medical things to other medical students has made me be a better communicator explaining things to patients. And when you explain things to patients, they seem to like you a lot more, apparently. Like that's what have been my experience. Everybody kind of likes to know everything. Even no matter if they're like very uneducated, they still would love to hear about how their diabetes is affecting them, for example. And they will take their statin better when they understand how the lipid is related to their blood glucose. Working, and then so I'm talking about research now. While working on a research project, I gained valuable skills like creating mesh terms, conducting system, blah, 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 just research stuff. I wanted to write because I wanted to go to an academic program. I also learned how to write an engaging case report and unique experience. Whatever, this is the same thing as my research. You know what? I didn't even talk about three things. I talked about two things. I talked about, I guess, two and a half things. I talked about education. I talked about like breaking down to your patients and how the education side of things has helped me. And I talked about research. On hindsight, I probably spent too much time on research. I thought my research would be more impressive than it was. So give 3 to 2 reasons why you're good at medicine. So for me, I want to go to somewhere academic. So funny enough, no, I got zero interviews from community programs because my personal statement was talking about academics a lot, right? So if you want to go to, if you see yourself, I did really not want to go to a community program because I was really interested in fellowships. But let's say if you're applying for family medicine, or if you're applying family IM, so you want to write separate personal statements for them, obviously, because you're going to mention different specialties. But you want to change the ideas too. If you're applying for IM community program, you want to mention a lot of community stuff like that. If you're going to an academic program, you want to talk about research fellowships and stuff like that. Uh, so that's probably the best thing I can get for IM. If you're like someone who you're like, I don't know if I can match into an academic program or an academic affiliated program, yeah, like a university affiliated program, then make two versions of personal statements. Make one for purely community programs, make one for purely academic, not purely, but academic slash academic adjacent program. Because you want to increase your odds and interviews you're going to get from community programs if you're on the verge of not being able to match. Because if you, let's say you want to do a fellowship in GI, but you're not the best like applicants. I'm just like being honest. If you're not the best applicant, but you want to do GI, you want to do a fellowship, then you can't have that fellowship heavy application sent to every community program because you're wasting those applications because they're not going to want you. You want to do like you want to do a fellowship. That's not what community internal medicine is about. So make one for that and make one for the academics and send them separately. Kind of like apply as if they're two different specialties. And really, IM feels like that because there is like programs that are great and they'll make you a good fellow for something, and there's programs that are really not don't have any interest in helping you to get a fellowship. I'm eager to join a residency program where residents and attendings share a commitment to excellence. So this paragraph is like talking about what they want to be. I said I want like really, really high quality stuff. I mean, sounds cliche, but that's what I believe in. I believe medicine is an inexact science. So if you kind of like your thoughts are inexact, then you're just like you're not even practicing the science. You're the science by itself is not exact. You're kind of like doing it not so great job, then it's just like might as well be doing nothing. You have to be really exact and really high quality with your work because the science by its nature is so random. So if you're also random, then you're not doing anything. So you want to be really like precise about what you do. That's the thought I was trying to communicate here. I don't know if I did it effectively or not. The ideal program has research mentors and attendees who dedicate their careers to advancing medicine and guiding the next generation of physicians. No wonder I didn't get any interviews from um, community programs. I literally said I want someone who can help me get research. Ah, understood. I mean, I didn't really want to go to a community program anyways. I plan to enrich my residency by engaging in high impact. So I said I want to do research in clinical trials. After graduating, I I was like I'm open to either internal medicine or medical specialties. In hindsight, I would probably replace the word internal medicine with hospitalist medicine because chances are the persons that are interviewing you are going to be hospitalists. So most of the time, not all of them, but most of the time, or at least they have been hospitalists. And so it's like you're saying, I either want to do general hospital work or specialized hospital work. For an academic program, it's I think more desirable to describe it like that, or whatever you want to do. But I wouldn't say, oh, I want to do cardiology 100% of the time. Like that's crazy. Don't do that. You can do that if you're a USMD who got really high steps and did 2 years of cardiology research, but just don't do anything weird, you know. Now, the last paragraph just sums it all up. Looking back at a journey that began in my father's medical office, where early experiences sparked my intellectual curiosity. Whatever, you can read the rest. I want to read the last sentence. Ultimately, by immersing myself in a challenging and supportive residency program, I aim to emulate the perseverance my father exemplified and fulfill my potential as a physician committed to lifelong learning and service to the sick. So I really like this. I kind of relate to this. You know, it took me a long time to write it, but uh, so what ideas do we get? Don't do anything odd. Do roughly the same stuff that I did in each paragraph. Like that paragraph order should match. Don't care about SU's feedback. It's gonna be not the best feedback. It's just gonna be some MBA they hired. Uh, it's gonna plug it into Grammarly and tell you stuff. Just write come up. You don't need to start writing. Come up with like bullet points of what story you want to tell, why the reason you wanted to do medicine. Like come up with like space filler ideas, and then rest you can glue back together. Just come up with the main ideas, like why you want to do specialty X. You know, for me it was like intellectual curiosity. I like to be like have broad experience. Why am I the best for it? I'm so analytical. I had two books with myself and like I ran around with my books. But what else? Like, oh, I did research, I did teaching, I did that. What program I want research and like fellowship, like so, come up with those ideas and then the rest of them you can put together. Main ideas first, the rest the text comes together, guys. All right. Uh, cool. If you have comments or whatever questions, put them down. I don't have time to like read people's personal statements, so please don't ask me. Like I don't have time for that. Please don't ask me. Unless you're one of my people who is in my program, then yes, that's my job. I'm gonna help you with that. Other than that, just use this video to help yourself. All right.